Welcome to Foundation Friday. The dedication and covenant of silent unity was signed on December 7th, 1892 by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, founders of the Unity movement. It is unlikely when they signed this covenant that they had any idea how far-reaching unity would be as it evolved into the church we know and love today. We invite you to join us as we explore and share some of the original ideas, teachings, and writings of the men and women who created the foundation of the Unity Church.
Hi, thank you for joining us today for Foundation Friday. Today I've got an article to read for you that was written in the 1930s and it's called Holy Bread. It's written by Zelia Walters, who I'd never heard of. So I looked her up and this is what I found out. Zelia Walters was a wonderful writer who could paint a metaphysical picture better than anyone in Unity. Wow, that's quite a statement. Her story is beautifully written, and the message she conveys will sink deep into your subconscious mind if you give it your attention. Holy Bread. It is a deceptively simple story based on a true incident about a man's miracle experience during the Great Depression. So it is my joy to bring to you this story, Holy Bread. And it starts with a quote. I am the bread of life. I am the living bread which came down out of heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. Ye and the bread which I will give is my flesh for the life of the world. Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Holy bread. The world cannot beat the man who has eaten holy bread. When you pour the Christ Spirit into the simplest act, that act cannot end with you. It goes on and on in an ever widening stream, touching the lives of which you know nothing. Holy bread. Donnelly had spent half an hour resolving to speak to the next man who stopped at the door. He had never begged before. Begging came hard. But I might as well get used to it, he reflected grimly. Looks like the only way for me now. A man came to the door, fumbling for a key. He'd be a rich man, belonging as he did to this executive club and having a key to enter by the side door. The woman who had got out of the car with him waited at the bottom of the steps. Donnelly came close, muttering in his shamed voice, Could you stake me the price of a meal, sir? I have not eaten today. Sorry, fellow, but I've got no change with me, the man said crisply. Donnelly shrank back and hung over the railing with his back turned until they should go. I didn't bring the right keys, said the man to his companion. We must go to the other door. What did he want? The woman asked, nodding towards Donnelly as they turned to the street. Price of a meal, said he was hungry. Oh, Larry, we can't go in and eat a meal we don't need and leave a hungry man out here. There's one of them begging on every corner now. Likely he wants the money for booze. Anyway, I have nothing less than $10, and I don't see myself handing $10 over to a bum. He looks hungry. I couldn't eat for thinking of him. You know what Christ says to the unrighteous in the day of judgment. I was hungry and ye did not give me to eat. I don't want him to say that to me. I'll have to give food to I'll have to give food to Christ. Oh, wait a minute. I have something in my purse. Donnelly, with his back turned in shame, could hear it all. An electric shock passed through him. She was talking about Christ, just as his mother used to do back home. His mother had read that very same verse to him more than once. He could almost hear her voice saying it now. He had supposed vaguely that rich people didn't think about Christ, didn't need him with all the other things that they had. But here was this woman, beautiful and gentle, dressed in luxurious clothes, talking about Christ as if he were a real person to be met at any moment. She touched his arm, and he turned around. She was standing before him, looking up into his face. Here's $1. Buy yourself some food. And don't lose courage, even if things look hard. There's a job somewhere for you, and I hope you find it soon. He could only stammer pitifully. Thanks, lady, thanks. I'll sure buy food, not booze. You've given me a fresh start, lady. I'll never forget your kindness. You'll be eating Christ's bread. Pass it on, she said, and smiled at him in a friendly fashion, as if he were a man, not a bum. Then she was gone to join her escort who waited at the steps. She left a faint breath of sweetness behind. Donnelly started towards the region of cheap eating houses. His head was up. A good meal would enable him to try again. He could get a meal for 50 cents, and there would be half of his dollar left over for food tomorrow. He would be eating Christ's bread these 2 days. Again, that feeling as if an electric shock passed over him. Christ's bread. But look here, one could not save up Christ's bread just for oneself. An old man was shuffling along just ahead of him. Donnelly had seen him before at 2 places where he had asked for work. Poor old chap. It was hard lines looking for work when one got to that age. Maybe the old duffer was hungry too. Christ's bread must be shared. Suddenly, Donnelly felt a great uplifting of the heart. He too could give. $1 was enough for both of them. Tomorrow, well, Christ was never short of bread. Donnelly felt an amazing sureness about that. Hey, buddy, what do you say to going in and getting us a good meal? The old man turned, his watery eyes blinking up at Donnelly. You wouldn't fool me, he quavered, but he couldn't believe it until he was seated at the oilcloth covered table with a bowl of hot stew before him. Donnelly ordered grandly. They ate with concentration. Presently, Donnelly noticed that the old man was wrapping up his buttered bread in a paper napkin. Saving some for tomorrow, eh? He asked gently. No, there's a kid down here. The old man, old man out on a drunk. Nice kid. Had tough luck. He was crying a little when I passed. Hungry. I aim to give him the bread. Christ's bread. Donnelly was shaken by a mystic presence, a third guest at that oilcloth covered table. Let's both take him our bread. We've got plenty without it. I'll wrap up my pie too. They wrapped the food and carried it out with them. The old man led the way to where the boy stood with a few papers that he was trying to sell. Here, kid, eat this, said the old man proudly. The boy began to eat greedily. Then he stopped and called a dog that hung back in the alley, a frightened, lost dog, as one could see at just a glance. Here, Jack, you can have half, he said. Christ's bread. Ah, yes, it would go to the four-footed brother, too. The kid stood up gamely now and began to cry his papers. He sold 3 while they watched him. Goodbye, said Donnelly to the old man. There's a job for you somewhere, and you'll find it soon. Just hang on. You know, his voice sank to a whisper. This is what we've eaten. is Christ's bread. A lady told me so when she gave me the $1. We're just naturally bound to have good luck." "Yes, sir," agreed the old man. "I've thought of a new place where maybe they might need a night watchman. I wouldn't ask much pay. It would be a warm place to stay, though, and I'd earn enough to buy my eats. Yes, sir, we're just naturally bound to have good luck." Donnelly parted with his prisoners. I'm sorry. Donnelly parted with his pensioners and went on his way. He, too, had thought of a new place to ask for a job. He was turned down, but somehow it didn't hurt so much this time. And as he was going out, the man said, "Come back next week. Maybe things will open up a little by that time." As he turned away from the shop, he noticed that the lost dog was following him. "Did you know I furnished the grub, old fellow? I haven't got any more, but don't you worry. We'll have more tomorrow." In fondling the dog, he felt a narrow strap around his neck and found a license tag and an address. "You're in luck," he said to the dog. "Someone wants you. I guess you'll eat tomorrow all right. Come along, I'll take you home." It was a long walk uptown, but after a while the dog was barking madly at the door, which was opened by a starched, disapproving maid. "Come in," she said coldly to Donnelly. "The master will see you. He told me to bring in the person who brought the dog home." A keen-eyed man, while caressing the leaping dog, looked Donnelly over. "Why did you bring him home?" Donnelly hesitated. He could hardly say to this stranger that he had to do it because he had eaten Christ's bread. "He followed me down from the market district. I stopped to pat him, and I found a tag. I like dogs. I wanted to bring him back to his own folks." The keen-eyed man had meant to say sharply, "Didn't you steal him for the sake of the reward?" But he didn't say it. There was something of dignity about Donnelly that day. Instead, the man found himself saying, "I advertised in last night's paper, $10 reward." "I didn't know. I didn't see the paper. It wasn't for the reward." "I can see that. I'm glad it came to you. Thanks and good luck to you." Donnelly looked at the bill in his hand in a half-dazed manner. "I don't like to take it. I just wanted to do the dog a good turn." "Take it along. What you did is worth more than that to me. And do you want a job? Come to my office tomorrow. I have something for you." Donnelly was walking down the avenue, the bill clutched in his hand. A miracle? Had he been down and out hopeless? There was Christ's bread. It had multiplied like the loaves and fishes that he had read about in the country Sunday school long, long ago. Once he had eaten it, one didn't need to be afraid of going hungry any more. There was enough of that bread for all. Here were courage and a job and a new chance, and always something to pass on to the other hungry ones. Oh, something more than the bread that one could see. And the world could not beat the man who had eaten the holy bread, Christ's bread. When I read the story, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hoped you would too. Thank you for joining us for Foundation Friday. Namaste.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.